Yeah, you can see the whiteboard. You can see what I'm writing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Center
sir.
of gravity means a body, whatever may be the shape, any irregular shape you can take, whatever may be the shape of the body. Now you will have one part. It may be an irregular shape. It may be a regular shape. Any shape. It may be any shape. You will have one point at which you can think that the entire weight of the body is supposed to pass. Means you, even if you rotate the body, it will pass through that point. Even if I happen to rotate the body, I can rotate the body. So supposing even if I'm rotating the body, so so no matter in which position you place, the uh, vertical line represents the weight of the body acting vertically downwards. In whichever you place, it will always pass through that point. It will always pass through that.
Okay, sir.
So in any position you place, the center of gravity is supposed to be that point at which the whole weight of the body is supposed to be concentrated, or the line of action that is due to the weight, the line of action of the force passes. No matter you can place the body in any position, it will always pass. Always it will pass. Now for regular bodies, we suppose the center of gravity to be the center. That is, supposing you have a rod. Supposing if you have a rod, then for a rod, it is always supposed to be the center, middle. We'll always suppose it to be the middle point. Whatever is the middle point, we will suppose it to be the middle point. So they're supposed to be at the middle point, whatever is the middle point. That is for all the your that momentum you are learning, all that scale and all that. So it will be always the middle of the. For a rectangle, for instance, if you are having a rectangle, then it is supposed to be the, if you have a rectangle shape, then it will be the intersection of the diagonal, where the diagonals meet. Wherever the diagonals are meeting, it will be supposed to be that point. So it will be the join the two diagonals. Sorry. It will, if you join the two diagonals of the rectangle, then join this diagonal and similarly draw the other diagonal, when both diagonals should intersect at a point. So if you even so I'm joining both the diagonals, so that wherever is the intersection, see the intersection, you can see the intersection. So there is a intersection of the point. There is the intersection where, yeah, the center with the circle. The circle is the intersection. So this is the point. For a triangle, it will be the intersection of the median. If you have a triangle, it will be the intersection of the median. For a rod, it is a center. For a circle, it is a center. For a circle, it is a center. If you have a circle, we will erase all this. If you have a circle, for instance, so it will be the geometrical center. The center has a geometrical center, so that would be the, that means the intersection of two diameters. So you draw any two diameters, the diameters will intersect at the center, so the intersection of two diameters. So this is the center of gravity, where you can think that the weight of the body is always acting through that point. Even if you place the body in any position, like a book. You can place it in different positions. But that point will, the line of action will always pass through that point. And we take that the center of gravity is always that point at which the entire weight of the body is acting. So this center of gravity, sometimes also called center of mass. It is also called the center of gravity is also called sometimes center of mass. Then next one. Up to this clear? What is center of gravity?
Yes, sir.
The point, no matter how you place the body, in any position you can place the body, the center of gravity should always pass through the line of action of the weight of the body. Weight is a force, so the line of action of the force should be always passing through that point. And that point may be regarded as a point where the entire weight of the body is supposed to be concentrated. Then, next one.
So this completed the part 3 uniform circular motion.
Yeah, uniform substance I told you, like circle, it is the center. For a triangle, it is the intersection of the medians. For a rectangle or square, it is the intersection of the diagonals. So these are regular bodies. Triangle, you will draw 3 medians. Draw the 3 median. You know what is the median?
Yes, sir.
For a triangle, always draw 3 medians. So if it is triangle, so this is a triangle. Always draw 3 medians. The 3 median where they intersect. So you have got, so if you have got this one, so we are drawing the first median. Median means it should be joining the middle point. Similarly, you draw another median. You can always draw the second median from another vertex. From any vertex, if you draw to the center of the midpoint. So even if you draw the third median, you can draw the third median. So the point at which the medians intersect. Actually, you don't have to draw 3 medians. If you draw 2 medians, you will get the point. But you can check with the third median. It should be always intersecting at the point. And this point is called the centroid. You can draw the third median. Then this point will be called the, so the point at which they are intersecting, all the 3 medians are intersecting. This point is called the centroid. We indicate it by the letter G. So centroid will be the center of gravity for this. So like this, we have, depending on the shape of the body. For a rod, if you have uniform rod, just take the midpoint. For all your scale, that this one you will get that principle of moment. If you have a scale, a meter scale, usually they give a meter scale. Meter scale means 100 meters, 100 centimeters. Sorry. A meter scale means 100 centimeters. So for that, your center of gravity will be at the point 50. For a scale, this is the scale. So if you have the scale, the points will be marked 0 to 100. This you will be marking at 0 and this you will be marking at 100. So 50, the midpoint will be the actual center of gravity. So the center of gravity will be at the midpoint, exactly at the midpoint if you can find. So this point will be the center of gravity. So this point which I marked in the middle of the scale will be, and that will be the 50 mark. From 0 to 100, a scale, meter scale, from 0 to 100. So one end is, supposing this end is 0, this end, and this end is 100. So it will be, this end will be called 0, and this end will be called then 100. This, the other end will be called 100. that is centimeters. I'm giving in centimeters. So, yeah, ideally, when you take the center of gravity, you will be taking at this point, at the point 50. There's a 0 point, there's a 100 point, so you'll be taking at 50 actually. You'll be taking at this point, the middle point, which is 50. That is the point at which you will take. Uh, 100 will be here. Hundred will be here. So this is 0, that is 50. So 50 will be the point at which the CG of the scale will be there. That is the middle point. And if you have a like a circle, it will be the center. If you have a triangle, it will be the, as I showed you, the intersection of the median or centroid. So these are regular geometrical shapes. For irregular geometrical shape, what you do? There's an experiment. You hang it in different positions. You hang it in different positions and draw the vertical line. Draw the vertical line because the weight will always act vertically downwards. See where it intersects. If you have a irregular shape, doesn't matter. You hang it in different shapes. You hang it in different positions. Make a small hole, hang it in different positions. Supposing you have this one. Supposing this one. This one I am having. So what you do is, you take the body, so I'm rotating it. Now, when you hang it, weight will always act vertically downwards. So here you get the weight acting vertically downwards. Here your weight will be acting always vertically downwards. So you can mark it. Similarly, this is the thing. Similarly, when you do here also it will be acting vertically downwards. You won't get, because you have rotated, the line is not going to rotate. Weight of the body is always directly towards center of the earth. So this one, you will always get vertically downwards. So where the two lines, now I've drawn it two separate, but actually they are the same body. So this line and this line will intersect at a point. This line and the original line will, the first line and the second line, if it is on the same body, this line and the original line should have been this one. The original line should have been this one. Oh, probably it was a bit crooked, but still. So this is a, so this point, wherever it intersects, this was the first line, this was the second line. So wherever it intersects, that is the center of gravity. You can try it for 2 or more positions. I've just shown 2 positions. You can try it for another position. So all the line, all the vertical line, this was the first vertical line which I have reproduced here, and then you have got the second vertical line. So wherever they intersect, that is the center of gravity. That is for irregular bodies. Irregular bodies, you hang, suspend them in different positions, mark the vertical line. And how do you mark the vertical line? To mark the perfect vertical line, you use a plumb line. You know what is a plumb line?
No.
All the these people who build that what do you call masons who are building, doing the cement and other works, they are building houses, walls. They always have one thread with a weight hanging. One thread is there, and at the bottom they will have a weight hanging, a small brass weight hanging. So when your weight is hanging, it will be always vertical. It can never be any other position. If you have a thread with a weight hanging, it has to be vertical. So using the plumb line, you actually draw these lines. Then you will always get the perfect vertical. So when you get the perfect vertical lines, you'll find that they always intersect at one particular point. And wherever they intersect, that is. Then what is the next one after center of gravity? Because you will have be having calculations on that shape. Yeah. Tell me.
So centripetal force.
Uh-huh.
Centripetal force.
Centripetal force. Yeah. Centripetal force, centrifugal force, the whole description doesn't come in ICSE. Only just the meaning comes, nothing more. So don't worry about the long descriptions given there. Just read that. One is when a body is supposing is rotating, there will be two forces. Anything is rotating. There will be two forces, one acting towards the center and one acting away from the center. So there is a force acting away from the center and there is a force acting towards the center, which are equal and opposite. That is called centripetal and centrifugal force. Just remember the meaning. All the description given, you don't need it. If you can rotate any body, suppose you are rotating a disc at high speed and you place some small one grain of rice, some very light thing, you will find that it is continuously moving. So this movement is due to the centripetal force. So this is the centripetal force by which, or the example given in the book is, you tie a stone and try to rotate it, catching in your hand. So it will be always rotating in a horizontal plane with a stone. You have a stone attached, but beyond that, you don't need the details. So you have this one. Supposing there is a stone and a rope attached to it. The arrowhead is a stone, suppose. It is a big stone. I have drawn a small stone. It is a big stone. Not very heavy, big, but more or less heavy. So if you have it and rotate it in the wind, what will happen? At any moment you leave it, it slips out of your hand, it will fly away in a direct line at the tangent. That is the centripetal. You can try it at home without hurting anyone. A small stone, you tie to a piece of thread or string and rotate it as it is given in the book. The moment you leave, it will fly out. And the direction will be according to the position, the tangential direction. That will be the centripetal force. And a force act, that is an action. And now every action has an equal or opposite reaction. So the reaction to centripetal force will be called centrifugal force. Equal force acting in opposite direction. But beyond that, you don't need to learn that. Then next one.
So then is experiments. So then chapter over.
Chapter is over.
Yes, sir.
Acha, what is the next chapter then?
So work, energy, and power.
Work, energy, and power. Okay. A work, right? Now, work,
Yes,
power,
sir.
energy, or work, energy, power. Work is, how do you define work? As the only when a body moves, force moves a body. Force does not move a body, it is not a work. A force which does not move a body, supposing you are pushing a wall. You are pushing a wall. Force is there, distance is zero. The wall does not move. Then the work done is zero. So only when a force moves a body, then it is work. It is given by force into distance. Actually not distance, the correct term is displacement because it will have a displacement. That is the correct word. Force into displacement. That is the work. So there are two cases when the force can be, the work done can be zero. Either the body is not moving, as I told you, you are trying to push a wall. You go on trying to push a wall, the force is there, displacement zero. So force into zero gives zero, work done is zero. That is one thing. When the displacement is zero, when displacement will be zero, when the body comes back to the original position. Supposing the body is moving in a circle. After moving in a circle, it comes back to the original position. So the initial position and final position are same. In that case, the work done is zero. When after you can roam whole around Howrah, but again You come back to the starting point. You come back home. Your total displacement is 0.
Yes.
You're taking a bike. You're moving all over Kolkata. You're moving all over Howrah. But finally, you're coming back home. So from where you started, you come back. Initial position equal to final position. Okay. When a body returns, at that time, the displacement is 0. So either displacement can be 0 when it does not move, when the displacement is 0. Displacement is 0 in these two cases. One, the body does not move. The body doesn't move. That is the case when I told you you're trying to push a wall. When you're trying to push a wall, it doesn't move. Second case is initial position and final position are same. Initial position and final position are same. Then also the displacement is 0. So it can be the body coming back. So in this case, it was example, trying to push the wall, and in this case, it was body returning to the starting point. Body returning to the starting point. Then also you say displacement is 0. These are the cases when displacement is 0. Now, when a force is 0, force normally is not 0, but force in that direction can be 0. For instance, a body moving horizontally. We can take of a body moving horizontally. Supposing a coolie carrying a luggage is moving. Horizontally is moving, right? So there's the, when you are carrying a luggage, so anything. So yeah, there's the, you are carrying a luggage, this one, and you are moving horizontally. So the coolie was here, now the coolie is here. Okay, initially the coolie was here. Now he has taken it on his head and moved here. Now, the work done by gravity is 0. Gravity is acting vertically. Gravity is going to act vertically, and there's no vertical motion. All you have got is horizontal motion. All the motion which has taken, place is horizontal. There has been no vertical up and down. So when there's no vertical up and down, we call it that the work done is 0, because force in the vertical direction is 0. Force in the horizontal direction may be there. Force in the vertical direction is 0. So work done by gravity or work done against gravity is 0. The gravity did not do work, and you did not do any work for gravity or against gravity. You know, by and against. When you move in the same direction, it is by. When you move in the opposite direction, it is against. When a body falls, it falls in the direction of gravity. So it is by the gravity. When you lift a body, when you are trying to lift a body, the lift goes from 3rd floor to 6th floor. It is going against gravity. Gravity is acting downward, the lift is going upward. Then we say the work is done against gravity. If the work is done by a force, it will move in the same direction as the force. If the work is done against a force, it will move in the opposite direction. But in this case, it is neither moving towards gravity nor opposite to gravity, because there is no vertical displacement. We have got horizontal displacement. The work done against gravity or work done by gravity, both are 0. So force can be 0 in that particular direction. The force is not 0. Without a force, you can't move a body. But force is acting in horizontal direction, and you're trying to calculate in vertical direction. In vertical direction, there is no force. So force may be 0 in this case. So again, work done is 0. Work done by gravity or work done against gravity is 0. So here what we have, body moves horizontally. Vertical displacement is 0. So work done by gravity is 0, and also work done against gravity work done by the coolie against gravity equal to 0. Or if the coolie is standing in one place with the luggage, then also the work done is 0, even if he stands for 5 hours. He did the work when he lifted the load from, it was on the platform. From that, he lifted it up on his head. That was vertical motion. That time he did the work. But then, so long as he's walking or so long as he's standing in one place with the luggage, the work done is 0. Then, this clear? Hello? 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 Yeah, your audio is mute.
Hello.
Yeah, keep your audio on. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Did all the sound come to you? Don't keep your audio.
Yes, sir.
So, what am I saying? When you are moving in a horizontal direction or when the coolie is standing in one place, work done by gravity and work done against gravity is 0. Because gravity requires vertical motion, not horizontal motion. When you are walking, you are not doing any work against gravity. But when you are moving up and down, like you are climbing a staircase from first floor to second floor to third floor, when there is a vertical motion, vertical displacement, at that time you are doing the work against gravity. Or when you are coming down, you are doing the work is done by gravity. You are coming down from third floor to second floor, then work is done by gravity. When you are climbing up, work is done by you against gravity. But if you are walking on the road, work done by gravity against gravity. The gravity is acting vertically and you are moving horizontally. So the effect against gravity and by gravity is 0. So these are the cases when work done is 0. This is called the zero work force. These are 0 work. Force is there, displacement is there, but work done is 0. Displacement may be 0 if the body is not moving or the body is returning to the original position. And displacement may be, force may be 0 when the force is acting in vertical direction and you are moving in horizontal direction, or as I told you, the coolie is standing in one place. Then also. The only work done is when he was lifting the load on his head. But afterwards, he was standing for 5 hours. Technically, he did, according to physics, he did not do anything. That is the work. Then, now, another case will arise when what will happen if the work is, the body moves in a direction which is at an angle. So, supposing you have, this is the horizontal one, and the body is moving in a at an angle. Okay, this angle. If it moves exactly at right angles, then work done is 0. If it is moving vertically, then the work done is 0. Force is acting horizontally, body moving vertically, then also force is 0. And the force is acting vertically, body is moving horizontally, then also the work done is 0. So, if it is vertical and horizontal, then force is regarded as 0. But if it is moving at an angle, so we take this angle. This angle you take, and you write so much cos theta. You know cos, you have learned trigonometry, cos.
Yes, sir.
Then you write, supposing it is 30 degree, then you write so much. That depends on the cos theta sin theta. That it will be given. Usually sums do not come. F cos theta, F sin theta, that one. But force multiplied by, then you have to take the angle. But if it is 90 degree, then it is 0. So we write work done is force into displacement into cos theta. I'm writing cos A because theta is difficult to write here. I'm writing cos A. A is the angle. Theta or A is the angle. So if A is 90 degree, cos 90 is 0. When A is 90 degree, when A equal to 90 degrees, then cos A becomes 0. Then what happens? You are multiplying three things, f into d into cos A. If one of them becomes 0, the whole thing becomes 0. F into d into cos A, when cos A is 0, then f into d into 0 is 0. So and if it is at right angles, then not right angle, we call it mutually perpendicular. If the force and the motion are perpendicular, like one is horizontal, one is vertical, then the work done is 0. But if the inclination is there at 45 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, then you use the formula f into d into cos A. So if the inclination is 30 degrees, supposing, when A is, or A is 60 degrees, suppose A is 60 degrees, then it will be, work done will be equal to F multiplied by D into cos of 60. It will be how much cos of 60? How much is cos of 60? Huh? 1 by 2. 1 by 2. Sin 30 is half. So it will be actually F into D into half. Yeah. It will be half of the work done. So this is the, if it is at an angle. And if it is not an angle, if it is in the same direction, then the angle is 0. So cos 0 will be 90. The cos 0 will be 1. So you take 1. That means f into d into 1. And if it is at right angle, then it becomes 0. Then the whole thing becomes 0. When A is 60, then you get this one. When A is 0, A is 0 means both are acting in the same direction. Then you get cos A equal to 1. Cos A equal to 1. So f into d into 1. F into d into 1 is f into d. And when A is 90 degree, at that time cos A becomes 0. So f into d into 0 is 0. So at that time the work becomes 0. Here, when 1 is 0, f multiplied by d multiplied by cos A. Cos A is 0. F into d into 0, then the whole work done becomes 0. When A is 90 degree means perpendicular, no work done. If it is in the same direction, then you take only f into d because cos A will be 1. And if it is at an angle, then you take f into d into cos A. F into d into cos A. Cos A will take only if it is an angle. If it is in the same direction, anyway cos A is going to be 1. So f into d into 1 or f into d. If it is at right angles, perpendicular direction, then cos A is 0. So the whole thing becomes 0. Work done is 0. For any other angle like A equal to 60, A equal to 30, A equal to 45, then you take f into d into cos. That is the work part. That work part and no work force. When a force is not doing the work. The example I told you, when the body is not moving, when the body is coming back to the original position when displacement is 0, these are no work force. A force which is not doing any work. Then we got energy. And energy is the, how do you define? The definition is given. The ability to do work. Ability to do work. How much work it can do. Not how much work it is doing. How much work it can do. How much work it can do. Not how much work it has done. How much work it can do. For instance, now you are sitting. How much work you can do. How far you can run. It doesn't mean that you are running now. But how much you can run. That's there's difference between actually you are running and you can run. You can run, but you are not running. You are sitting. But you can run. The distance you can run and the distance you are actually running is not the same. In a marathon race, a person is running, say, 400 meters. That doesn't mean that they can only run 400 meters. They can run maybe more than that. but that is the distance they have run for that place. But they have the ability to run much more. So how much you can do work, that is energy, not how much you have done work. Work was how much you have done, and energy is how much you can do. When we calculated work, we calculated how much work you really did, how much work was done. And now we are calculating how much you can do, not how much you have done, but you have the ability to do, how much you can do. So in energy we have, already we know that energy is the ability then already we have the unit of energy. One thing I told you, the unit of work. Unit of work will be unit of work. Work we were doing. Always remember the formula. F into D. So it was F will be Newton into D will be meters. So Newton meters will be called. One name is there. What is that? It is actually Newton meter. There's one name for that. 1 Newton into 1 meter. 1 Newton. Huh? What is that? 1 joule. Yeah, it is called joule. 1 Newton, 1 meter is called joule. And if you are taking in terms of the smaller unit of work, I don't think you have it in this one. Anyway, that is Newton into meter, it was called. Now, previously we had one unit. Anyway, I tell you, I don't know whether it is in the book or not. Previously we had one unit dyne and we used centimeter. At that time, the unit was called erg. I don't know whether you have it or not, but in case you don't have it, you don't have to remember. But otherwise, it's the dyne into centimeter or Newton meter. Sometimes you call it Newton meter. That is joule. And energy also has the same unit. The unit of work and unit of energy are exactly same. One is how much work you did, and second is how much you can do. But both the units are same. So energy and this one both are having the same unit. So unit of work and of energy will be the same thing. It will be joule. Sometimes we also use kilojoule, that is 1000 joule. Kilojoule meaning 1000 joule. 1 kilojoule. So this is the unit of work and unit of energy. So energy is the ability to do work. Then initially that you have learned in I think all the even previous classes. Energy, the division, all the light energy, sound energy, magnetic, all the energy you have learned. Sound energy, light energy, heat energy, all the things you have learned. Magnetic energy, electrical energy, so all the types of energy. Now here in this chapter we are having what is called mechanical energy. Mechanical energy. Other forms of energy are there. Light energy, heat energy, sound energy, electricity. These are forms of energy. Now we are dealing only with mechanical energy. Mechanical energy will be classified into two divisions. One is called the potential energy. Potential energy. And will be defined as energy possessed by a body due to its position. Due to its position, or sometimes they also write configuration. 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 That means position of a body. Position of a body means supposing a heavy weight you place on the top of the shelf. If it falls down, it will do some work. When it falls down, the gravity will pull it down. So during that, it will do some work at the time of falling. Now, when it is on the shelf, it is not doing any work, but it can do work. It has the ability to do work when it falls. It is not doing now. It is potential, it is stored, it is reserved. But potential means it can do. When it will do? If it happens to fall. But now it is not falling. Now it is safely on the shelf. So it has the ability to do work. The ability to do work means it is on the shelf now. So it can fall, it can do the work, but now it is not doing, but it can. Supposing you stretch a rubber band, you are keeping it stretched. It is not doing any work now, but it can do work when you release it. When you release it, it can do work. But now it is not doing because you are holding it both the hands. Now it is not doing. But when you release it, it can do the work. So it has the ability to do work. A spring you are compressing. It can do work. It's not doing the work now. But when you release, the spring can do the work. So spring can do the work. An elastic stretch condition can do the work. A body at a height can do the work. It can do, not it is doing. It can do. This is the potential. The configuration means changing the shape, like squeezing a ball, compressing a spring, stretching an elastic band. This is what called configuration. And position, I told you, a body at a height. A body on a shelf, a body at a height. So when you place a body at a height, it is called the, it can do work, it is called the potential energy, either due to position or due to configuration. Position refers to position above the earth. And the earth, it is zero because it can't fall any further. But when you place it at a height, then it can do the work. So height, position refers to height above the ground. Position here means height above the ground. This is the position. And configuration refers to the deformation of the body. Like you are compressing a spring, you are squeezing a rubber ball, you are stretching an elastic rubber band, and then bow and arrow also you are doing that. And bow and arrow you are pulling that this one. So when you are pulling, when you want to shoot an arrow, when catapult, when you are pulling that. So deformation is configuration for our purpose. Configuration does not mean deformation, but for our purpose in this case, configuration refers to deformation, like stretching a rubber band, squeezing a rubber ball, compressing a spring, pulling that bow and arrow. Now these are configuration changes. That is, and position refers to height above the ground. Height above the ground. So in calculation, we only take the first one. Configuration you write in the definition, but there's no calculation at your stage. Here we have the only for position we have the calculation. What is the calculation? So supposing a body is at a height h. The height of the body is h meters. Height is h. Now when a body falls, can you tell me the force? What is the force? The body is falling from a height. What is the force? It is the force of gravity. What is the force? When a body is falling from a height, what is the force acting on it? Can you hear? Yeah. What is the force acting on it? When a body is falling, what is the force? The earth is pulling it. What is the force? The force
is zero.
No, when a body is falling, the force is zero. The earth is pulling it. What is the force called? The earth is pulling a body. The force is called? The force is called weight of the body. Weight of the body. No, not centripetal force arises only when a body is moving round and round. The body is just falling. From the top, it is falling down. The body, why it is falling? The earth is pulling. That earth's pull is gravity. That is the weight.
Yes.
Force of gravity, that is the weight. And weight is given by mg, where g is the acceleration due to gravity. M is the mass of the body. M is the mass of the body and g is the acceleration due to gravity, mg. M is a mass and G is the, not gravity, acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration due to gravity. Approximately it will be taken as 9.8 meter per second. Anyway, so now work done is force into distance. Distance is height. In this case, the distance happens to be the vertical height. So the work done will be force. Force is the weight of the body multiplied by distance is the height. So what you are getting is mgx. This is the formula for potential energy. Potential energy is given by mgx. This is the potential energy. Potential energy is given by mgx. mg is the weight of the body multiplied by h is the vertical distance. The vertical distance is h. From which height it's coming to which height. That is the vertical distance. So mgh is the potential energy of the body. It is clear? A body at the ground level has zero potential energy. The body is on the ground, it can't fall any further. The body at the ground level has zero potential energy. A body at a height, more height means more potential energy. If you place one on the second shelf and one on the third shelf and one on the fourth shelf, the body which is at the top, the highest position will have maximum potential energy if they have the same weight. This is the potential energy part. Okay, anything else? Up to this one, it's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, say loudly. Then we have the kinetic energy. That is the potential energy part, mgh. For calculation, you remember only this one. Only for the definition, you remember configuration word. The energy due to position or configuration, that you remember only for definition. For calculation, it is always due to position. For your syllabus, I'm saying, it is mgh. Then the second part is we have the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy, that is always a body in motion. Kinetic energy you can't have for a stationary body. A kinetic energy means always in motion. It is the energy due to motion. Always the energy due to motion. Energy due to motion. Kinetic energy is always of a moving body. If a body is at one position, it can't have any kinetic energy. Just like I told you, a ball placed on the shelf, it's not doing any work. It has potential energy, it can do work. When it falls, at that time, it will be kinetic energy. It's the kinetic energy. When a car hits a person, the car hits a person, it is a kinetic energy. The car is standing in one place and you are leaning against the car, nothing is going to happen. The car is in one place and you are leaning against the car, what's going to happen? So it was not a car, it was the motion of the car, the speed of the car. So always kinetic energy is due to motion. The energy due to motion will be kinetic energy. In kinetic energy, how we calculate as the kinetic energy is, the formula is half. I'm writing as 0.5. You can also write as fraction half multiplied by mv square. The kinetic energy is always calculated as half mv square. Here I'm writing 0.5, but you can also write half mv square. So half mv square, 1 by 2 into mass into, that means 1 by 2 into mass into velocity square. Velocity square. This is the formula for kinetic energy into velocity square. This is the formula for kinetic energy. You can see this, what I'm writing.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the half into mass into velocity square. So potential energy is given by mgh and kinetic energy is given by half mv square. The unit will be always same, Joule. Any kind of energy. Potential energy, kinetic energy, light energy, heat energy, sound energy. Unit is always same, Joule. Joule is the unit. Sound energy, Joule. Heat energy, Joule. Magnetic energy, Joule. Electrical energy, Joule. Joule is always the standard unit, SI unit. So whether it is potential energy or kinetic energy or sound energy or heat energy, unit is always work done, unit is always joule. Energy unit is always. So for a moving body, you calculate in this manner the energy. And for power, you are having power, um, power is given as a rate of doing work. Rate means always divided by time. Whenever it's a rate means always divided by time. So rate of doing work, that means work done divided by time. So work done will be always in terms of joule. Okay, it will be always in joule, and the time taken in SI unit will be in second. We don't use hour and other things. In SI unit, we use second and joule. So joule per second, the way we write joule per second, work done by time, work done is joule, time taken is second, so joule per second. And we have got a separate name for that, it is called watt. So joule per second because this is how you are going to write in science. Joule per second, the another name is watt. Joule per second or watt. That is the, or the same thing, joule divided by second equal to watt. You can also say watt multiplied by second equal to joule. And for again what we have kilowatt, that is 1000 watt is kilowatt. Like 1000 joule is kilojoule, 1000 watt is kilowatt. So what is the rate of doing work? Means in energy and work done, you did not take the time factor. If I am doing a work in 1 hour and you are doing it in 3 hours, energy is same, work done is same. But here the question of time comes. One who can do it very quickly, one who can do it faster has more power. And one who can do it the same thing slowly has less power. So here the question of time is coming. And time is in denominator. Smaller denominator means greater value of fraction. So faster implies more power. Slower implies less power. Faster you are doing the work. You do work very fast, more power. If you do slow, less power. But for work and energy, whether you do it fast or you do slow, what I'm doing in 1 second, you take 1 hour, same work done. If I'm doing it in 1 second and you're doing it in 1 hour, and someone is doing it, taking the whole day, work done is same. But power will be, one who is working faster means power is more, and if they are doing work slowly, power is less. Only in power the question of time arises. The question of time will arise only in case of power. It does not arise in case of work or energy. So this is, so if you are doing the same work, now this type of question, suppose the same work is done by 2 persons, and one is doing in 3 seconds and one is doing in 5 seconds. The same work, A is taking 3 seconds and B is taking 5 seconds. How will you compare their work? Same work they have done. Same work. So work by time. Work is same. Time is in denominator. So time is in denominator means it will be 1 by 3. Ratio 1 by 5. That means if you simplify, if you cross multiply, you will get 5:3. The work of A and B. One who is taking less time, 3 seconds, the ratio is coming 5. And one who is taking 5 seconds, the ratio is coming 3. One who was working faster, more power. And one who was working slower, less power. 1 by 3. Work done by 3. Work done by 5. Work done will cancel. So 1 by 3 is 1 by 5. That means if you can do a work in half the time, the power is twice, 2 times. If you can do the work if you have the power, 3 times you have the power, you will take 1/3 of the time. If I am taking 30 minutes, you will take 10 minutes because you have 3 times the power. Then what else? Oh yeah, then unit of power I told you. What? Then what else? The next part? Huh?
Work energy theorem.
Work energy theorem. Work energy theorem means the just read the theorem. Just read the theorem.
According to work energy theorem, the work.
Read. I can't hear most of the thing. Hold your earphone if you're using. Hold it close to your mouth and say loudly.
Okay,
Or increase your phone volume. Yeah, according to
work energy theorem, the work done by a force on a moving body in the same direction is equal to increase in its kinetic energy.
Ikya means the increase in energy of the body is actually the work done. Yeah. Supposing a body is moving at a certain speed. Now you are doing some work and the body is moving at an increase. So the difference of kinetic energy is equal to your work done. Your work is changed to kinetic energy. A body, supposing, was moving initially. Supposing the mass of the body we take as, supposing the mass of the body is 50 kg. Okay? And initially the body was moving with the first velocity, we call it. Initially it was moving with, say, we are taking only a SI unit. Say it was moving at 50 meter per second. It was moving at 50 meter per second. That was the velocity initially. Now, you did some work on it. And the same body, mass will be same because it is the same body. Mass is not going to change. Same body is still 50 kg. Now, the velocity now, the second velocity after you did some work, maybe you press the accelerator or whatever it is. Now supposing it is, say, 60 meter per second. Now it happens to be increasing the speed. You are increasing it to 60 meter per second. So what we are saying is how much work you have done. G is same thing. So what was the initial kinetic energy and what was the final kinetic energy? Here, the kinetic energy should be given by half mv squared. 1 by 2 into m, that is 50, into 50 square, v square, that is 50 into 50, 50 into 50. That should be this joule, half mv square. The unit will be joule. And in this case, this for convenience, I'll make it a different color. Okay, this one. And this is the initial one. And now what you have got, your kinetic energy will be equal to 1 by 2 will be there. Mass, it is the same body, so you won't change. It will be 50 into v square will be 60. Now it is 60. 60 into 60. So this is the joule. So according to how much work you have done is the increase in kinetic energy. How much was the kinetic energy and how much is the kinetic energy you are going to see. How much it is. So when you subtract, half m will be common. Half into m, half mv1 square, half mv2 square. So half m will be common. So actually you are going to write half m v1 square half m v1 square, sorry, it should be v2 square. Initially we take the second one first. Final minus initial. Minus again half m v2 square.
One square.
Yeah, this 1 and 2 I'll write it as suffix. Sorry. No, this one will be, sorry. This one will be 1 v1 square. This one will be 1 square. And for convenience, we will write it as suffix. And so if we are writing in this manner, it will give you a, we will write it as a suffix. And this also will write it as that. Otherwise, you will think that 2 square is 4. Okay. There's it. So half mv to the final minus initial, not initial minus final. Always the final minus initial. So half m we can take common. Half m. Because the body of the weight of the body, the weight is not going to change. Yeah, weight is not going to change. It is the same car. So half m we can take, and then we can do v2 square minus v1 square. So we'll be doing v2, which is v2 and square. This will become this one minus v1 square. So this 2 will become the square, and this one will become a suffix. So a subscript. So we have got the half m v1 square into v2 square minus v1 square. So we are half m you can take on. Actually, you can calculate as it is. Then also you will get the same rule. So 1 by 2 into 50 into the original the second velocity was 60. 60 square means 3600 minus initially was 50. 50 into 50 is 2500. So that will be how much? 360. This will be 25. Half into 50 is 25. Multiplication 3600 minus 2500 will be 1100. 36 minus 25 is 11. So 1100. So if you calculate this one, this will give you the, so 25 to 11 is how much? 25 to 50 and 25. It will be 275. 275. 250 and 25, 275, 00. So this is the work done when you are increasing the speed of the car. From 50 to 60, when you increase, it was actually the work done was this much. But this is the work energy theorem. The work you have done is equal to the increase in kinetic energy. Although I have taken common here, half m I have taken common. Even without taking common, if you do, then also you will get the same thing. See, without taking common. How much is this one? Tell me. Half into 50 is 25. 25 into 2500. No? Yeah, 25. Sorry. 25 into 2500. How much? 25 into 25, 625. That is a joule. And here, even without taking common, let us calculate. 25, half into 50, 25 into 60 into 60. That is 3600. 3600. That will be how much? 36 to 25, how much? 9.
Sir, it 0.
Tell me. 9 followed by 4 zeros, right?
Yes,
How many zeros? 9 followed
Yes, sir,
by,
90,000.
yeah,
4 joules.
90,000 joules. Then if you subtract it, then also you will get the same thing. The answer you will get the same. 25 into 6, 150, 15, 75, 9. So that way also you can do it. There's no, you don't have to do it always this way. You can do it that way also. Any way you do it, you will get the same answer. So if you subtract, see how much you are getting? 90,000. 90,000. For convenience, I'm writing 90K minus 62.5 thousand. Okay, we will write in this math. 90,000, 123 minus 62500. See how much it comes. How much it comes?
27,500.
275 joules. And the same answer we got here, if you remember.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the same answer we got here. Same answer. So although you can take half m common, it is easier, but even if without taking common, if you do individually, if you calculate, you will get the same. But for convenience, we take half m common, v square, v2 square minus v1 square. Even without taking common, you calculate separately, you will get the same. So the work energy theorem states that kinetic energy increased by how much? 27500 joules. And that is the work you did on the already moving car. Car was already moving. It was moving at a slower speed. And then you did some work. It started moving at a faster speed. It was already a moving car. Slow moving car, you did some work to make it a higher, to give it a higher speed. So the work done by you is equal to the increase in kinetic energy. Whatever is the kinetic energy, if you kick a ball is already moving, and then you kick it. It moves at a faster speed. The difference in kinetic energy is the work done by you. The work done by you is how much extra kinetic energy is imparted to the moving body. Clear? The body was already moving. Not that the body was still. The body was already moving. So what is your work? You made it move faster, or it may be reverse. It was moving faster and you made it move slow. In that case, you applied the force in the opposite direction. The work done by you is equal to the difference of kinetic energy. And difference is always final minus initial. It's never initial minus final. Even if the body was moving fast and you made it slow, in that case, what will happen? You will get in negative. Suppose this was the initial speed. 60 was the initial speed, and then you did some work and made it 50. In that case, you will be doing the 62500 minus 90,000. This will be the initial, that will be the final. You will get minus 27500. You did the work against the motion. The work was done, the force, whatever you did, it was the work was done against, not by, against. But still the calculation is same. It is always final minus initial, even if you get in negative. You may get in minus, don't worry, but it is always final minus initial. If you are getting negative means you are doing the work done by you was against, and if it is positive means it was for. So that is the work energy theorem, that the work done by you is equal to the increase or decrease in kinetic energy of the body. The work done by you to change the velocity of a moving body is equal to the difference of kinetic energy. How much kinetic energy increase or decrease? Kinetic energy increase or decrease. So we can say work done on a moving body, already moving, on a moving body is equal to final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. Subtract the two kinetic energy, final minus initial, you will get how much work you did on the moving body. That is the work energy. Then next one, anything else?
The transitional kinetic energy.
What is that?
Transitional kinetic energy.
Transitional.
Yes, sir.
or transformation of potential energy to kinetic energy. What is it?
No, sir. The transitional kinetic energy.
Can you read that one? What is it?
Yes, sir.
And you read loudly. The sound is put the phone in. You're doing on phone or laptop?
The laptop.
Okay, just increase the sound, and if you're using the earphone, then put the mic closer to your mouth. Then. Yeah, tell me.
Okay, sir. The motion of body in a straight line path is called transitional motion, and the kinetic energy of a body due to motion in a straight line is called transitional kinetic energy.
What is not transitional? Translation. Yeah, I thought transitional. Translational. That day I was telling you what is translational and rotational motion. So translation means the body is moving in a straight line. It is called the rectilinear motion. So all the parts of the body move. That's the first class we did. If the body is moving in a straight line, you've got a body here, any body. So when a body is moving in a straight line, okay, supposing this one, when this one, you're having a body. This is the body. And this body is moving in a straight line. So that's what we did. This body is moving in a straight line and is moving here. So what we did was that first every part of the body is moving. It's not like the blades of fan. In a blade of the fan, only the center of the center of rotation, which is the pivot, that is not moving. That is not moving. In a seesaw, supposing you and your friend are sitting, you go up and he goes down, and he goes up and you go down. The center is fixed. The center is not moving. Scissors, try it. The center will not move. So the two blades will move. The center will not move. So like this, what we are having is when the center is not moving, that one point of the body is not moving. Here, all the parts of the body is moving. Every particle of the body has moved. Any particle to any particle you can connect, that has moved. This is called the translational motion. Right? Any part of the body is you can connect. You connect here, any molecule you take, any molecule, any position, and you can connect with the same molecule in the same position. And all will have moved the same distance. Every particle, any other particle you take from any other position, I've taken one particle, any other particle you take. All the particles of the body have moved and moved uniformly. This is what we call translational. And when they move in a straight line, we call it rectilinear motion. Rectilinear. Sometimes we call also rectilinear or rectilinear motion. That is motion in a straight line. Motion in a straight line. So the kinetic energy when it is moving in a straight line is a translational kinetic energy. Translational motion kinetic energy. Energy due to motion is kinetic energy. Energy due to motion in a straight line will be the translational rectilinear motion kinetic energy. That is when you are moving in a straight line. Then it has to move. Without motion, there can be no kinetic energy. It can be a rotation. It can be a moving in a line. So when you are moving in a rotational, that is rotational kinetic energy. When you are moving in a straight line, it is a translational kinetic energy. Then,
Yes,
and the same thing, half mv square. Think of the speed with which the ball was displaced. So you get half into m into v square. Then, what else?
Yes. The vibrational kinetic energy.
What is that? Vibration. Yeah.
Vibrational kinetic.
Vibration. That means the body is moving to and fro like the vibration of an atom. You know, all the atoms vibrate. And all the molecules vibrate. So when they are vibrating, then that is the vibrational, like a string vibrating in a musical instrument. The string is not moving in a straight line. After going up, it will again come down, again will go up, again will come down. Vibration. Or it will to and fro motion. Forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. So this kind of motion, because it is motion, it's kinetic energy. Don't think of what kind of motion. It is motion. Moving in a straight line, moving in a circle, moving to and fro, whatever it is, oscillation. If it is moving, it has to be a kinetic energy. So when it is vibrating, that means it is not after moving for some distance, it is coming back in the opposite direction. So this will be the vibrating. For instance, this could be vibrating if from the ball I've drawn it brown and blue. From the brown position, it is going to blue position, again coming back to brown position, again going to blue, again coming back to brown, again going back to blue. If it is moving to and fro, it would be a vibration. Then energy, kinetic energy to vibration is vibrational kinetic energy. Then similarly, rotational, same thing. Depending on the type of motion, you have the kinetic energy. Next.
And the different forms of energy.
Different forms of energy, that's what we discussed first.
Yes,
What we discussed, light. This was mechanical. What is mechanical? Mechanical means potential and kinetic energy due to position,
Yes,
configuration, or motion. Energy due to position, configuration, or motion. Position and configuration was potential, and kinetic was due to motion. The energy due to
yes,
position, configuration, or motion. Energy possessed by a body due to position, configuration, or motion. The first two will be potential, the last will be kinetic. These two together are called the. Then we have the light energy, light. Then we have sound energy.
yes, sir.
Then we have the electrical and magnetic, sometimes called electromagnetic together. Electrical, magnetic, sometimes we call it electromagnetic. Sometimes we can also call it together. Then, because they are very closely associated. Whenever there is an electric field, there is a magnetic field produced, and whenever there is a motion in the magnetic field, an electric current is produced. So we call it electromagnetic sometimes, the two together, electromagnetic. Then we have sound, light, heat. Sorry, one very important. Heat energy. Heat is a form of energy. These are the main forms. Then we have like in ocean, then we have nuclear energy. Nowadays we are doing nuclear energy. Nuclear energy. Then there are things like geothermal energy, energy inside the earth. The heat energy inside the earth which comes out in volcanoes. Geothermal energy, ocean waves. So these are wind energy, but wind energy is essentially kinetic energy. Solar energy, that's essentially light energy and heat energy. When you say solar energy, you mean actually light and heat energy. When you say waves, you mean actually kinetic energy. Wind, actually kinetic energy. But these are the different forms. Then,
Conservation of one form of energy to another form.
what is it? Read again. Transformation of energy. Yeah, energy transformation. Yeah. Energy transformation. Take a fan. Okay. Supposing you are taking an example of a fan. Now think of what input is there and what output is there. In a fan, input is what? What is the input? What kind of energy you are giving to the fan? In a fan, what kind of energy is going? What kind of energy you are supplying the fan? What kind of energy goes to the fan? Electrical. And what kind of energy you are getting? Mechanical.
Yes, sir.
That is rather kinetic actually. Mechanical actually kinetic you are getting. Isn't it? Similarly, think of a another thing like think of a heater. A heater, again, you are giving electrical energy. But what you are getting? Heat energy. Heater.
Yes, sir.
Think of a tube light or any lamp or something. You are giving electrical energy. And what you are getting? Light energy. You are going to get light energy. So like this, supposing you are, when you are cooking, one energy I forgot, chemical energy. When you are cooking, you are using the gas or anything. That is chemical energy. You may be using LPG gas, or you may be using wood or kerosene oil or whatever it is. It is chemical energy. You have to burn it by chemical reaction, by burning, by oxidizing it. Chemical energy. And what you are going to get is heat energy in a gas, LPG gas too. Right? In plant, when they do photosynthesis, they use light energy. They are initially light energy, and that is changed to chemical energy. That is the energy stored in the food. When you are eating food, you are having chemical energy. So light energy is changed to chemical energy. Then, supposing you have a generator where you are putting the diesel or kerosene. That diesel or kerosene is the chemical energy. Chemical energy, and you are changing it to electrical energy. Generator. Electrical energy. So this is the transformation of energy. Candle. Candle also you are burning. That is chemical energy to heat energy. Anything you are burning, any chemical substance. It can be kerosene, it can be LPG stove, it can be a candle. Anything you are heating, then chemical to heat energy. So it could be chemical to electrical energy if you are using a generator. And when you are using the solar cell, again you are using solar energy to electrical energy. That is the transformation of energy. This is the transformation. In a car, for instance, in all the car, buses, you are using the petrol or diesel. That means you are using chemical energy. You are transferring to motion. Ultimately, the car will move. So it is the kinetic energy. The mechanical, that is kinetic. Mechanical or kinetic energy. So this is all the energy can be transformed from one any form to any form you can transform. There is a transformation. Any kind of energy can be transformed to any form. Electrical sound. Supposing you are hitting the almirah with your hand. You are banging on. You are banging on the door. You are banging on something. So what you are using is the food you ate. The food you ate is giving you the energy. It was muscular energy or chemical energy. That is now transformed to sound energy. So we are transferring to sound energy ultimately. You are banging. When you are banging, supposing something falls from the top, one heavy thing falls. Falling means always mechanical kinetic energy. Something is falling from a height. If something is falling, it has to be kinetic energy. Moving, motion, falling. So it is a kinetic energy, or rather mechanical energy. Mechanical energy. And when it falls on the floor, what do you get? Sound energy. You're getting the sound energy. The bang. So spark also you can get. You have seen that. Supposing you rub two stones. What do you get? Rubbing. Rubbing means it's kinetic energy. And kinetic energy will be changed to whatever energy? Heat energy. When you rub two things, they become hot. Rubbing. Friction. Friction is essentially rubbing. When something becomes hot due to friction, what you are doing? You are changing the kinetic energy or mechanical energy to heat energy. So a transformation of energy means change of energy from one form to another form. That is the transformation, and when your transformation you take place, it will always follow what is called the conservation principle. Sometimes you call it conservation principle. Not here. This should have in the next line. We call it conservation principle. Means, or the law of conservation means, the total amount of energy will be constant. You cannot create energy, you cannot destroy energy. Only you can transform it. You can change the form. You can convert heat into light, light into mechanical energy to chemical energy. You can change the form, But there's no way you can destroy energy. There's no way you can create energy. Energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be destroyed. But we can change energy in one form to an energy in another form. We can change energy in chemical form to energy in light form. Energy in chemical form to energy in heat form. Energy in electrical form to energy in heat form. Energy in electrical form to energy in the kinetic form. You can change energy between the different forms, interchange, but you can't really destroy energy, you can't create energy. That is the principle of conservation, principle of energy. Then,
Yes.
okay? Acha, you did those sums which I gave you. No, I didn't give you, but I asked you to on the moment, principle of moment. You have done the numericals, all the numericals. All the numericals are the principle of torque and moment. Have you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there is any problem, then you can give me the WhatsApp. Okay. Just WhatsApp, you type the sum and send.